And now I'd like to introduce Business Development Officer for the Nevada Business Opportunity Fund, Rob Solander. Rob.
Hi, thank you, Danica, for having me. So today we're going to talk about creating a strategic business plan through the value proposition. And we're going to focus on the value proposition because in my day-to-day, I spend a lot of time talking to aspiring and existing entrepreneurs and businesses. And a lot of the conversation seems to revolve around what I have and what I want to sell. And very rarely does it involve what customers need and how what that business has fits with what the customers need, demand, and expect. So there is a quote by a gentleman named Frank Kaspides, I think that's how you pronounce his name, that says, any strategy lives or dies on the basis of its customer value proposition. And I found that very true because if you don't understand that value proposition, you have no clue what to communicate, where to communicate, when to communicate, and more importantly, you have no idea why people should even care, and they have no idea why they should even care. So creating that value proposition will actually frame your business in a way where customers can see that you meet their needs, you meet or exceed their expectations, and you're delivering something that they want and need and are willing to give you money for that. So what we're gonna look at is something called the Value Proposition Canvas. It's something you can Google, you can download it, it's free out there in the public domain, but we're gonna walk through it because I have found this to be one of the simplest, most straightforward, easy-to-use tools when creating a value proposition. There's two types of value propositions. Basically, one is what we call the product market fit. So that's when you have a product and you have customers that want your product. And the other one is called a problem solution fit, where your clients have a problem, such as maybe encrypting their IT or warding off cyber attacks, and then the solution that you actually provide for that. So the first thing we're going to look at on this canvas are customer jobs. So this whole thing starts from the customer. So by customer job, that really is about what is your customer actually trying to get done. Now that can be anything from saving $50 a month to losing 20 pounds to covering up the gray. It could be something intangible like feeling cooler, feeling younger, feeling healthier, a little bit more secure in their future. But you really want to understand those things because those are going to be the elements that are going to drive everything else in this proposition. So once you know that, then you want to look at what are the customer pains. So once you know what the jobs are, we really want to look at what is getting in the way of those jobs being done, or what is making those, let's say, not so fun for people to do. So it could be things like you want to look at, is it too costly, or does it make your customer feel bad? For example, a lot of people want to get fit, but they're really intimidated by going to a gym where a bunch of people with really cut bodies are looking at themselves in the mirror. That's a very intimidating thing, and that stops a lot of people from going. You can look at, what are the main difficulties and challenges that they're encountering. It could be access to information. It could be really anything. You want to look at maybe what are the negative social consequences that maybe your customer is encountering when they're trying to do what it is they're trying to accomplish. It could be maybe they're putting their power at risk, or there could be a status thing there. So it really comes down to what's keeping them awake at night. What are the things that are really worrying them when they think about the goals they want to accomplish and the things that they want to achieve? And you can also look at, what common mistakes are people making. A lot of times it's not even about the fear. It's they think they're doing something right, but they're not. So this is a chance where you really want to get into the mind of your customer, really get into their life, and really find out what is going wrong or what's just not going the way they would like it to. So the next part that you want to look at, these are your customer gains. So this is what your customer expects or would be surprised by if they actually came across it. And this is going to be things, again, that can be very tangible, such as saving money. It could be things that are intangible, such as, again, they would like to feel good, or they would like to look younger or have more energy. And you want to look at, what are the current solutions out there that maybe that your customers are really already happy with, especially if they're not your own, because that gives you insight into your competition. You also want to look at, what does your customer expect, and how could you go beyond those? So what would they really like to see from you? And what do your customers dream about? And another important thing to know, especially when it comes to the gains, is what does success look like for your customers? It's very easy for us as business owners and entrepreneurs to, we love our own products, we love our own services, and they work great for us. But what success means to me is probably not going to be what success looks like to my client or customers. And then you want to also keep in mind, what would increase the likelihood of them adopting one of your solutions? Could it be, would they be expecting maybe lower cost or better quality or improved customer service or perhaps a more streamlined design? And once you have that whole story, and until you have that whole story, you do not want to move at all to what your company can actually provide. Because unless you know that, there's really no way to connect that, and there's really no way to understand why what you're going to do is going to be of any relevance or any interest to your customer. So now we're going to move over to the business side of things, and we're going to you want to look at how do your products or services map out as far as how can they help your customers do what it is they want to do. So you want to list maybe things that can directly help them, things that you have that can indirectly help them. And you want to look at things that are maybe tangible, like what goods do you actually have, or what customer service do you offer. Then there's virtual things. Are people downloading stuff? Are they doing things online? And then you've got intangible stuff like quality assurance. And then, of course, there's financial impacts, things like investing or financing services and things like that. And you want to rank all of these products and services. Because it's one thing to say, I've got all these great products and services, but again, they need to be relevant, they need to be crucial to your customers. And a lot of times, a lot of businesses put a lot of trivial products out there that really don't excite anybody and really don't bring any value to people. So the next thing we're going to look at is pain relievers. So notice it's right across from the customer pains. So you want to take your products and services and try to map those out against the customer pains to see what can you actually relieve. And you don't need to hit all of them, nor will you hit all of them. But you should be able to hit enough of them, or even one key one, if there is a key one, that will really make a difference for your customer. So if you look at TV commercials today, there, you've got the lady with the dishwashers. I guess a lot of people are upset about spots on their dishes when their dishes are done. It could be, removing stains from clothes. It could be covering up the gray or anything like that. You want to figure out what pain it is that you're actually trying to reduce, and how your product, how your service is actually going to reduce that. So, what's going to help your customer sleep at night? What can you do to eliminate that worry? Then once you have that, then you're going to look at gain creators. And gain creators are really those things that are going to make your customers happy. So when you look at the gains that they want to save money. How much money can you save them? And you want to put this into something that is really definite and very clear. A lot of businesses make the huge mistake of being really vague in these things. Well, we can help you lose weight. Okay, well, how much weight? How much weight can I lose in a week? How much weight can I lose in a month? Because if somebody says, I just want to save money, and I've been able to help them save $1 at the end of the year, I've actually delivered on the promise of helping somebody save money, but I can guarantee you that person is not going to care and they're not going to hire me back. So we want to be very specific with those gain creators as they map out against what our customers want and what our customers expect. So you want something that is going to maybe outperform something that's already there, or maybe make their life easier. You want something that's going to create perhaps an increase in their pride, or something that's really going to help them out. And we are not rational, logical beings. So since this is pretty much the last slide, I'm going to put a few examples in here of how this really can map out, and some things that you can look at to kind of help you get comfortable with this if you haven't seen this before. So if we take a look at Starbucks, right, it's very easy to say Starbucks is a coffee place. But I'm going to say that I don't think people really go to Starbucks just for the coffee. I've never heard anybody say Starbucks has the best coffee out there. They're certainly not the cheapest coffee out there. But for some reason, we all go to Starbucks. So there's something more to it than that. And if you can tap into what's the more out there, that's what's really going to give you the competitive edge. That's what's going to let you start thinking strategically of what do you need to offer, where do you need to offer it, who do you need to offer it to, and again, more importantly, who cares? Why should your customers care? And if you look at those types of things, then it becomes a lot easier to know when you need to move, and it becomes a lot more obvious when the market starts to shift, or when your customers start to want different things, perhaps an improvement of your product or a completely different product. So for example, the internet solves one of the pains of, Amazon solves one of the pains of, nobody wants to go to the bookstore, and now with Amazon Prime and the 2-hour delivery, they solve the pain of, I need something, but I really don't want to deal with Walmart or Target or going across town to whatever. You order it, they bring it right to your door in 2 hours. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. It's awesome. And that's basically it. It's relatively simple. I think what's very powerful about this as well, and one thing that you may want to do, is once you really have your customer piece mapped out, you know the jobs they're trying to create, you know the pains they're having, you understand the gains that they want, create different value propositions from the side of your company. Maybe one might lead from customer service, and another one might lead from product development. As a tip, I will say you never, ever want your value proposition to be price. It should never, ever be price, because even if you get gains today, somebody will come in at some point and they will be 5 cents cheaper, and your customers, if that's the only reason they're with you, they will go to the person just to save the 5 cents. It happens a lot, and that's the one place you really don't want to be. You want to find out what are those reasons that people really love you. Why would they go to you? So even if somebody opens up a block down the road from you, why would people still continue to go to you? Why would they love you? Why would they recommend your friends? And that's pretty much all I have.
Wonderful. I want to remind everyone again, if you'd like to ask a question, feel free to type it into the chat box in the bottom left corner of your screen. Questions are anonymous, so nobody is going to be seeing it except for us or the chairperson. If you'd like to ask a question on your phone, feel free to press *7 on your phone to unmute your line, and then you can ask your question that way. I have a quick question about engagement with your customers.
Mm-hmm.
As far as planning out maybe something like your social media strategy, or going with the pains aspect of, some people actually might obviously we see this all the time. Your customers are engaging with your company, telling you what they did is wrong. What's the best strategy you think for a business to kind of tackle their customers?
Well, you mean as far as when people bring the feedback into the business?
Absolutely, yes.
So social media is an amazing tool, an amazing way to really engage your customers in conversation. And while a lot of it can be praise, a lot of it's probably going to be negative. What I think is a really great thing to do is to keep track of everything customers are saying about you, the good, the bad, the kind of it's neither good nor bad, because those are going to be the things that you can take in and then decide, do you want to make product changes? So for example, if everybody that is commenting is making note about, let's say, that maybe the packaging is too complicated to open up, or the setup is just way too difficult and they don't want to be bothered with it, then that gives you something that you can really take back to your product design. But I would say you definitely don't want to ignore any of that. If people are praising something, find a way to exploit that. You can put that out in press releases. You can put that out in your marketing thing. Thank people for their feedback. That's one thing that really I'm a big believer in. Whether it's good feedback, bad feedback, thank people for your feedback. They have taken time out of their day to engage with you on social media. The average person has 300 and some odd friends on Facebook, and the fact that they put you above commenting to one of their 300 or 400 or however many friends, that's a really big deal, and that's an excellent opportunity to get honest feedback, because people will be far more honest when they're anonymous than if they're sitting across from you and you say, hey, how did we do that today? Oh, everything's great, I love it here, and then they'll go home and then they'll type out everything that they don't like.
Those terrible Yelp reviews. Exactly.
I mean, how many times have we been at a restaurant and we're eating with somebody and we say, oh, I don't really like this food, it's not this, that, whatever, the waiter comes by, how's everything? Oh, it's great, thanks. We do the same thing in businesses, but then we might go home and write that Yelp review of, oh, this was bad and that was bad and service was horrible, and we'll talk about all of these things. So I think it's a great tool, and I think a lot of businesses really lose out on that type of insight, because then again, all of this can be taken in. You constantly want to be updating your customer information, what you know. You want to update your pains, because those are going to change. As you get rid of one pain, another one's going to pop up. As you give somebody one gain, after a while, they're going to want something else. There was a time when cell phones were enough for us. Oh, we could call in our car. Now, all of a sudden, we all want data, and we need streaming music, and we need streaming videos, and we need games, and we need to be able to share photos with people. We didn't do any of that 20 years ago, and now we can't live without it. So it's a constantly evolving structure.
Wonderful. Well, it doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in, but I do want to remind everyone that if you do have questions for Rob after the webinar concludes, that definitely his information is on the screen here, so feel free to, if it's okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Reach out to him.
Give me a call.
Directly. And if you'd like to get a copy of this webinar, please reach out to the Chamber. We're more than happy to send you a copy of this, but the recording will also be on our website as well. So thank you so much, Rob, for presenting today, and thank you all so much for joining us. I want to remind everyone that we are going to be on winter break for the next few weeks, but I want to wish everyone a happy holidays, and we'll see you back on January 13th for our next Chamber U. Thank you.